grasping where is our new content production system with multimedia capability going to come from.
Right, okay.
If I may attach a footnote?
Yeah, go on, yeah.
To save me asking a separate question. So there are two elements, I think. One is what Mike's talking about, the production system.
Yeah.
The other elements, which you have addressed previously in briefings and other meetings, which is the test and try, and that's basically to use different basic software
The sort of
in order to,
logic.
in order to enhance what we
Yeah.
currently do.
Yeah.
So that's separate. That, I think we can all see the value of,
Yeah.
rather than having an all-embracing system
Yeah.
like Socrates had been planned to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing that is really worrying is the actual production system, which is
Yeah.
now coming to 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. But I suppose what I would observe and try and answer Mike's question is some of that learning that we're getting from those individual bits of software are absolutely going in to inform what we might procure and also how we might procure precisely the thing that we want. Okay? So I suppose that's the first point, because as you've observed, the software market has moved on, out of all recognition in the last 4 or 5 years. I suppose the other thing I would say is that we couldn't share this widely because this would have influenced HP's position of our negotiating, influenced HP's view of our negotiating position. We did a lot of work during last year on what we kind of called a Plan B, which is how could we achieve the desired outcomes without using anything from autonomy and HP. Indeed, the prior question, could we achieve what we want to do without using anything from autonomy and HP, coupled with a question of what could we expect in terms of usable lifetime out of our existing infrastructure. And we did both of those pieces of work because we needed to know if we were going to go into a kind of face-to-face negotiation with HP, did we have an ability to walk away from the table and sue them because we knew we could do something else, and we had to know that we could, and we found that we could, so that gave us a strength in the negotiating position, and also HP realised that. So we've got a lot of work which we did in the back end of last year looking at things that the BBC already uses, and the things that the BBC already has licenses for, which is an element of Plan B. We've also got a really good kind of understanding of the expected lifetimes of our existing infrastructure, which Monica's one and Monres and a whole range of other things are others, and how we would go about rebuilding those if that hardware or software failed, because again that's part of the assurance we can keep the existing infrastructure going while we absolutely go ahead and procure the replacement. In the interim, I think we've done a number of things. So I think one of those is already up and running, which is the source database. That's up and running. We've got a new version of the video desktop, which I think is either about to roll out or has rolled out and is going to the international units. And again, that's really important because one of the things we've always struggled with in monitoring is giving the international teams the same tools as we have here in Caversham. And for the most part, they don't. Even where they have MOPs, it's a plain imitation of Monarch. And then the other thing I've been working out is how are we going to prioritise the things that we need to do, recognising the position we need to get to. For the state you might, as an example, is you want a replacement for Monarch. So that's kind of an end state that would be good for you. But there's a number of other end states that
Well, I want
you want a multimedia production system. Okay, so that's a better way of describing it. So you want a multimedia production system. I want you to have a multimedia production system. But to get you a multimedia production system, we've got to make sure that we have the prioritisation of a number of other things that we're going to enable that. So to take a particularly kind of arcane aspect of technology, but an important aspect of technology, and I've just been chatting about over lunch, is what is the bucket that we're going to put the 23 million items that we've currently got sitting in Monarch in, that we can be assured that we can continue to access them in the future when we have a new multimedia production system. Because you could switch to a new multimedia production system and have no visibility of the last 20 odd years of monitoring. So monitoring would only then have a value of what it's then able to create from that day forward, whereas a lot of monitoring value is not only what it can create from today forward, but as others were just discussing around this table when I came in, looking at the things we did yesterday, last week, last month, last year, last decade. So to get a multimedia production system, you've got to be able to work out the bucket that you're going to put the 23 million items that we've already got, and then you start to think about, well, are those just those 23 million text items, or are they all the stuff that we've done out of the video unit? And. So you then start thinking, well, actually, do we need to multimedia content bucket. So that's just one small slice of one small element of one thing that it would take to put a multimedia production system on your desktop. And kind of working out the sequencing of those, setting that against the fact that if we, to take a hypothetical example, if we were to replace the production component of Monarch last, can we be assured that the Monarch hardware and infrastructure will keep running long enough if we replace the kind of search component of Monarch earlier? Because we're unlikely to do a one-to-one replacement. Unlikely to take kind of Monarch out and give people a multimedia version back. We're likely to split it into its component parts and provide those at different times. So we might be able to provide a kind of a search function much earlier than a production function. Is that what we should do, or should we provide production function earlier than we provide the search function? Those are the kind of things that we're tussling with at the moment.
So, who's thinking of, there's no sort of visible people.
Right,
Who's thinking about
okay,
it?
so
Who's
who's doing this? So a lot of people in John Eagland's area, people working on the change programme. We brought in a specialist person who's what is called an enterprise architect, who's someone who's skilled in knowing how to put these things together in businesses like BBCM, and a range of other technical skills that we're drawing on from BBC Technology Division and BBC Future Media and Technology. So yes, they might not be people who you personally know, and they won't be sitting in the ops room, but there is a lot of work going on. Now, I absolutely agree. There's not a great deal of visibility of that.
I think it would be, I personally find it useful to have some kind of staff presentation on this, to reassure people. I don't know how people.
I think those bits and pieces, just to tie them up.
Yes, good idea. Good idea.
People understand there
You
is
know,
work.
we are going through, we are,
Yeah.
Socrates' history, we're going forward, we're doing this, these people are doing that, and some kind of timetable if there is one.
Well, that's one of the other things that we're trying to work on, because the timetable is in part can be driven by us, by BCM, but we're now part of the licence fee, so the timetable has also got to be driven by the priority calls on licence fee funding from other divisions. And it won't have escaped anybody that with the announcements that Tony made a few weeks ago about DMI and the ongoing PwC review in how the BBC's governance processes from Mark Thompson up to the Trust were or were not sufficient to monitor that programme, there's likely to be a period in which the governance processes we would need to take the replacement of Monarch and a new multimedia production system might not exist. So we might actually be hitting, if you like, the BBC's governance functions at precisely the point that they don't exist. So there's going to be a whole set of factors that we're going to have to work in to try and answer your very, very opposite question, or one I desperately want to know the answer is, which is when.
It'd probably be a good thing for people to kind of get their expectations right as well, to have this complexity explained.
Yeah, although I'm only too well aware of the fact that when I listen in other businesses to people describing how complex it is, I kind of go, well, of course it's easy, isn't it? It's just obvious, why don't you? And then hence I then kind of think, well, actually when people say that to me about BBCM, and then I roll my eyes and think, well, they don't truly understand. There's that constant tussle, because one of the things I've heard a lot from staff in BBCM over the years is, don't tell us about the complexity, just tell us when we're getting it, and then you rightly say, well, it might be quite helpful if we know something about the complexity. So I realise that not all 400 people in BBCM all want the same thing at the same time, but trying to find something that meets the majority of people's needs without, as I'm sometimes told, hacking off 3/4 of the people is also quite a challenge. So perhaps we just got to be a little bit more kind of understanding of the things that do interest some people but don't interest others, rather than kind of, writing very kind of lengthy phrase notes about what a complete waste of time internal comms are. So.
But I think presentation is definitely a good idea.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for the suggestion. So, Mike, if you had a presentation, putting you on the spot, what would you want to know? That's really helpful. Very interesting. So, I didn't want to date, would you? No, I know, Josh, not just you, but you've raised the question.
I'd like to know who's doing what.
Okay, so who's doing what?
For when.
Yeah, and how.
Yeah.
The kind of why, what, when, how kind of.
Yeah.
What can we put in?
So what suggestions can you put in?
We do know that what's happening with BBC Monitor happens in other organisations, so it's nothing new.
Yeah.
And the collapse of the digital
DMI.
at BBC is yet another example of how wrong things can go.
Yeah.
But the difference was that was all explained to everybody what happened, what went wrong. It's all own website, even public is aware of what's going on, and what's the consequences of that is, and how the BBC is going to manage that. So something similar would be useful for us, because then what happens is lots of rumors.
Yeah.
Because there's this big gap, this
Yeah.
big information gap, and nobody knows anything, and so people start spreading rumors, and everybody starts to do something.
I suppose a couple of things I would say about DMI. Not everything is known, and not everything will be known for some considerable period of time. It's important that we don't prejudge some of those outcomes, not least because at least one, if not more, colleagues, are subject to internal processes, and it's really important we don't form judgments on
The
those.
way they handle this is they reacted instantly, they try to reassure the public, they try to answer some of the basic questions that people
Yeah,
want to know.
and that's a really important point about reassuring the licence fee payer. The reason is that was something that the BBC was doing on its own.
Yeah. But
It had
similarly,
already-
we want to be reassured.
Yeah, yeah.
And we want to
And,
know that.
and that's the reason for me talking about it as openly as I can. I suppose what I've got to be mindful of the fact is that as it currently stands, I'm still constrained in giving the details of the settlement because that was one of the terms of the settlement. So that's a constraint that's not upon me to decide whether I choose to stand by or not.
Presumably you'll have to reveal those terms though to the relevant committee and so on, will you, Chris?
There's all sorts of things in contracts, so if a relevant parliamentary committee or if the Information Commissioner, then the BBC would reveal them, but in doing so the BBC acknowledges that it would then subsequently potentially damage its commercial negotiating ability for future contracts. So again, one of those really interesting things, we all want to know everything, and if we all know everything, then we need to understand that the next time the BBC wants to buy something, it will cost it more than it would otherwise do, which means less money for us.
It will also be a lot more careful.
So that's just one of the balances again that the organisation has to be aware of. It's just a cruel fact of life. So
So as not to lose the point, so what would we like
yeah,
regarding the future?
yeah,
Speaking for myself, I think there are sort of two or three strands. So one is what TSND are doing with regard to Monarch or perhaps
Yeah, yeah.
an interim replacement. for
Yeah.
Monarch.
okay,
The second part would be the kind of work that Andy Redhead and
yeah, he's the
are
architect.
doing.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know there's a lot of work being done there, but it's not public knowledge, so I think it'd be
No.
useful to,
yeah,
even if it's sort of work in progress. And three are the, not being derogatory, but the peripheral